Hello Avatar fans and welcome to the channel where we discuss all things Avatar. Today we're going to cover episode 5 and with that, spoiler warnings ahead. Episode 5 drops us right into the action. We're greeted with a gang running away from a squad of firebenders. The team uses their skills against the fire squad and Katara makes ice discs against them. Then the team jumps off the cliff to be carried away by Appa. The music swells with an over-emotional theme. Seems a bit melodramatic. Anyways, Aang and Katara talk about her progress with waterbending. Man, there is just a huge gap of quality of VFX. This green screen look is pretty bad, but it's weird because the landscapes look great. The team then sees a burnt forest and they decide to land and investigate. Aang has an outburst of frustration, feeling responsible for the burnt forest. Also, who is Aang talking to? This is an odd blocking choice. It feels weird having him speak almost directly to the camera, but we know he's facing away from Sokka and Katara. This is also when they should have cued the over-emotional music.
I also want to point out that even Sokka is tired of hearing these mini monologues.
Aw, cute Momo. They really did a good job with Momo. Katara tries cheering up Aang and Sokka finds a little girl, but upon seeing Katara and Aang, she runs off. They follow the little girl, leading them to a village. I love it when they film on a physical location. It really ups the production value and makes the world
Feel more believable.
In the village, they're greeted by the little girl's dad. He tells them about the Fire Nation burning the forest and that the land is sick and a lot of their people have gone missing. Zuko then lectures the soldier on his incompetence about the information leading to the Avatar. We then jump to Azula suggesting to Fire Lord Ozai to aid Zhao in capturing the Avatar, before getting a slight verbal reprimand of her pettiness towards her brother. They are cramming in too many storylines.
Introducing Azula and the Fire Lord this early diminishes Zuko as a threat to the Avatar.
Aang and the gang concoct a plan for him to cross over to the spirit realm to get the missing villagers and find a place in the forest in front of these statues. He eventually crosses over to the spirit realm but accidentally brings Katara and Sokka with him. Meanwhile, Zuko and Iroh make their way to a village in search of the Avatar.
We've never ever caused trouble.
When indeed.
Cut this line. Just give us a look. It tells it all. I swear, most of these scenes, they can cut the dialogue in half and it'll really help with the pacing. While in the village, we meet June. Dude, awesome casting. Spot on. Whoa, that was an awkward keyframe jump down.
Big talk for a little boy.
That's the kind of interactions that they need to show us more of their characters. Well done. We now jump back to Aang and the others in the spirit realm. They meet Wan Shi Tong. They're cramming in too many storylines into this episode with forced cameos of characters that should be saved for later. He does look cool though. Aang is the only one that can hear him and he advises them to not stray off the path. The group then has a sudden encounter with Hai Bei who knocks each one of them off the path. Again, another shout out to the VFX team. Hai Bei looks pretty cool. They each get separated in fog. Sokka sees a fox that's obviously Princess Yue, and Katara sees a younger version of herself. And as she follows her, she gets pushed into a larger vision with her mom, where she feels responsible for her mom's death as she attempted a waterbend in front of a Fire Nation soldier. Yeah, it's your fault. I don't even know what she was trying to accomplish in this scene. On a positive note, shout out to this young actress. I feel like she should have been cast for the lead role of Katara. She was very animated and gave a good performance. After witnessing her mother's death, her grief sets in and we get a quick jump scare as Code closes in. We then cut to Sokka as he relives the moments where he's passing his boating merit badge. After he overhears his dad talking smack about him and about how he almost killed the whole crew. It's like they don't care to whisper in this show, or they're just intentional dicks. It's very obvious that Sokka was just right there and within hearing distance. Anyways, again, grief closes in and we get a less scary jump scare of Ko closing in on Sokka. We then follow Aang as he has encounter with Ko and we see Ko in all his glory. Ko brings up his past grievances and reveals that he is holding all the people, including Sokka and Katara, for food. Ko's design looks good, but man, why is it that the cartoon version is way more intense than this show? What happened to all the grittiness that we saw in episode 1 and 2? As this live action series goes on, it's almost turning into a lighter Cliff Note version of the cartoon. Also, running into Ko out in the wild detracts from his character, that he's just some random encounter rather than a key plot point.
It's been a long time since I've added a child's face to my collection.
There's something more inherently scary in the cartoon that Aang had to seek out Ko and that Aang couldn't show emotion, which was a great stress because Aang is a very emotional character. It was just way more stressful and intense in the cartoon. If this is how they are going to encounter Ko, I just wish they found a different way to ramp up the intensity. Maybe actually battling him or showing him hunt. Just feels like he's not a threat. The story feels less cohesive and more watered down. Anyways, Aang makes a run for it and he finds himself himself with his old mentor Gyatso. They have a conversation and Aang finds out that Avatar Roku dealt with Ko before, and his friends are in danger. He then decides to leave in a quest to talk to Avatar Roku. Before he leaves, Gyatso tells Aang to not feel sorry for leaving before the Fire Nation invasion, telling him that they would have just been killed with him. The episode then wraps up with a long-winded, over-emotional monologue by Gyatso, as we see images of Azula practicing and Zhao receiving the Yuyan archers, and the narration wraps up as we see Aang flying to Roku's temple. So frustrating. Again, there was something more depressing in the cartoon that Aang never received closure of losing his people to the Fire Nation, and that getting over his guilt was just something he had to live with and learn to overcome himself. There's just way too much dialogue in this show, and it's becoming increasingly more melodramatic and borderline pretentious. There's all these super heavy emotional cues driven by the music that just don't land. I said this in a previous review episode, and I'll reiterate again, that this live action series relies heavily on nostalgia and prior knowledge of the cartoon to drive its story forward. These emotional cues are only impactful if you watch the cartoon. This live action version has a longer runtime than the first season of the cartoon. Yeah, I feel like I don't know these new versions of the characters because they are too busy cramming in storylines from later seasons and spoon feeding us exposition. As cool as they were, Wan Shi Tong and Ko felt like over-glorified cameos rather than important plot points. We don't even get a good team dynamic yet, since all these adventures are solo experiences. I haven't felt like the team chemistry is building at all. This whole series feels like it's just telling me the story rather than showing us. The episode literally ends with a 3-minute monologue that tries to drive emotion from a character that, if you haven't watched the cartoon, we only know was close to Aang because Aang said so. It feels like the series is trying to build up to something profound but has no substance. Anyways, that's my harsh take on the episode. I really wish they had simplified and focused on building up their characters. I have to say I'm enjoying this series less and less as it goes on. If you like this series, I'm happy for you. Anyways, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with us, or do you think we're just full of crap? Make sure to subscribe, and until then,
We'll see you next time.